a panel, because look, how could I avoid this?
He's terrific, I tell you.
He
I loved what he did.
Oh.
If I was Roger, I wouldn't have liked it, but I enjoyed it. I hope he never does one on me, though, I will tell you.
Well, he's met you. You're a little more accessible than the Roger guy.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
You're not hiding in an ivory tower.
You have to destroy like a town, you know, throw 30, you have to like throw 30,000 people out of work, and
Yeah,
you know.
it's a pretty rough time.
Yeah. So,
Here's the question. Will be like a debate thing. Do some people have too much stuff?
Go ahead, Michael.
well, you know, we live in a country now where the richest 1% own over 50% of all the wealth in this country. We talk a lot about, you know, how, you know, wealthy people have become even more wealthy and things are great and the stock market's setting a new record every week and profits are up like 250% this decade, but wages are only up 3%. Now, how can the profits be up 250% if the buying power is only up 3%? How did that happen? You know, it happened because the average American out here has been forced into debt. And it's being built on, you know, people living on 3 credit cards, paying the minimum balance each month to get by, second mortgages on their houses. We have the highest personal debt in the history of this country right now, and more personal bankruptcies last year than at any time since the Great Depression. We don't talk about that. What's happened to the concept of making sure that we take care of the least among us? That you know, that how we'll be judged is how we treat those who are, you know, people who are having a tougher go of it. And I mean, I know I've read your books. You've been on welfare at times in your life. I've been on unemployment 3 different times in my life. And
But you know what? Neither one of us was ever $1 billion in the hole.
I know what it is to be very poor.
That'd be like the poorest guy on earth.
I was down, you know, almost about 900 million in a negative sense.
Oh,
you know,
my
you go
God.
up 4 or 5, you go down 900 million. So I've been all over, so I was much poorer than you. So I can honestly say, thank you very much. I never thought of that. But I can honestly say I was much poorer than both of them.
and what unemployment line were you standing in?
I was doing okay. My lifestyle didn't suffer that much, I will say that.
Yeah.
I'm very embarrassed.
Well,
to say
how
that.
are we going to fix things? Let me ask you that. How are we going to fix, like, address a little bit about what he talked about, the least among us?
I think it all starts with education. You have to do the best to get everybody educated so they can sort of fend for themselves a little bit better. I think education is maybe a key word and a very important word. It sounds simple, and it's not. It's a much more complex problem than that, as we know.
Yeah.
But
Why-
education is a very big step in the right direction.
Donald, why is it then that Republicans and conservatives then keep wanting to cut education, they keep cutting the education budgets, and you talk to anybody who's sending their kids to public schools, I mean, the classrooms are bigger, the roofs are leaking, I mean, the schools are really falling apart, and why at a time of incredible wealth, you know, when we have so much right now, why wouldn't we put this money into that? We have the first budget surplus in, what, 3 decades? I mean, why aren't we putting the money into that sort of
Well,
thing?
Well, I have to
maybe
agree
it's
with you.
because it is a house of cards. Maybe it really isn't a surplus. What do
I
you
don't think
think?
it's a
Gina?
house of cards. I think we have a very solid country. I think we have a great country in a lot of ways. But there are weaknesses to everything else, and I happen to agree. I mean, I think that a lot more money should be put into education and other things, but a lot more money should be put into education. I think a lot more money should be put into seniors because, you know, some seniors, they work their lives and they live like dogs for the last 10 or 15 years of their life, and, you know, I could see that happening also. So,
Well, maybe you need to run for president or something because you know how to make money and balance things. Because
There's a lot
check
of
this
truth
out.
to that.
Check this out. No, I mean it because check this out. Like all these billions that they're spending on prisons, well, if you put it in the beginning of people's lives and it went to education, wouldn't that save us something on the back end?
well, you know, I'm not sure. I think money should be spent on prisons. I'm a big law and order guy.
Oh,
mean,
yeah, well, I think murders and stuff, they should be locked up.
I think, right.
But education, doesn't it deter crime?
No, I
Doesn't
think it would. I think it would have an effect. But I think education is terrific. You got to put a lot of money, but you also have to put a lot of money into the law enforcement and prisons.
Right.
Yeah, but what they're doing
Definitely.
now is they're building these private prisons, and these private companies are having prisoners do work for these companies. In my film this year that I had out, I showed how TWA, if you call at certain times of the day, their 800 number, you get a prisoner in the California Youth Authority prison in Ventura County, California, answering the 800 number.
You're kidding me.
No, and why is it that TWA and other companies have used prisoners, Eddie Bauer and Microsoft, doing prison labor? I thought this only happened in China, where they use prisoners to do actual work not for the state, like making license plates or cleaning the roads or something that benefits society, where they're repaying their debt. What's their debt to TWA? You know, I don't understand
Well, maybe
that.
they're learning a trade, though. Maybe they're learning a job.
Right, and so that's a good reason. But what TWA and what these other companies are doing is they're laying people off out here, people who didn't commit crimes, and giving the jobs that people are making 50 cents or $1.50 an hour. What is the morality of that? You know, I think that what they're not trying to do it for any high-end reason or high-minded reason. They're doing it because they want to save a buck, make a bigger profit. And you know, I just suggest, well, why don't we just get rid of, you know, why don't we just lay more people off? Some of them will turn to crime, you know,
Then we can
and
hire
then they
them
can get their
at
old
their
job
wages.
back. Yeah, you know. So it's like,
Well, you know that whole way of thinking gets all bogged down too, and it doesn't go anywhere either.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I mean, witness the whole Soviet Union.
sure.
It doesn't go anywhere. I'm not calling you a communist.
No.
But that socialist stuff, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just a
I agree.
huge mess like everything
And
else.
here's the ironic thing is that the socialist Soviet thing is what now conservatives in this country like. They want to eliminate the competition. They want to merge and buy out the competition so that they're the only company, right? So we have only like 5 media.
I was thinking that. Is that true, Donald? I was thinking that the rich people are trying to make us communists.
They're trying to be like the old Soviet Union. How about this? When the Republicans voted for impeachment, they voted 227 to 0. Not one dissent, like the old Politburo in the Soviet Union, where everyone agrees, right? You know, it's like that's how the Republicans are in Congress. There's like they're like the old commies.
Donald,
it's really
you cannot
weird.
let other rich people turn this into a communist country.
Yes.
Well, I don't think we have too much of a problem, but it certainly is an interesting viewpoint. This is one I have not heard before.
I hadn't heard
And
it
how about
either,
the
but I like
Democrats
it.
and the Republicans are like the same party now. We have a one-party system. There's
Well,
no
me and
difference
you are
between
going to talk about that
Tweedledum.
because we have to let Donald go because he flew in from Hong Kong and he's tired.
Oh, wow.
And I just want to say how happy I was to see you and how nice it was
It's
to
been
have
great
you
to
on
be
my
here
show.
with both of you. Thank
Yes,
you
and
very
Thank
much.
you, Donald.
Have a good time. Absolutely.
You're shaking hands. Yes.
I don't mind.
Shake his hand.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a hug now.
Have a good time.
I'm hugging you. Can you hug?
I can help. I can help. Oh, she's so beautiful.
It's a Roseanne sitcom reunion with John Goodman, Laurie Metcalf, and the rest of the family on the next Roseanne Show.
Well, now it's just me and Michael Moore alone. We were talking about our parents and their generation and how different the world is now. And also talking about how people in the real world actually talk this way.
Right.
Even though, like, you've done TV, so you know, like, people on TV, they're so horrified of, like, real people and what real people really talk about, aren't they?
Right. Yeah, completely.
Why?
Actually, I don't know. And I just had this experience last year because I actually wrote and produced a pilot, a sitcom, that was very much inspired by what you did. And when you announced that you were going to, Roseanne was going to leave the air last year, I thought, well, just that there's not going to be any working class voice in this form of a sitcom. So I wrote this thing, and actually they produced it at CBS, produced the
that's
pilot. And I think, you know, when they saw it, it was kind of like, they could tell right away that there was a language, there was a communication problem. But I said, this is really how it is. This is how people are. This is how they talk. This is what they care about. And working people are not buffoons, and they're not dumb, and, you know, they're
and
pretty...
they're not racist.
And they're not racist, and they are not any of the things that television has made us out to be.
Right.
And you never see an image of us on the screen. I mean, it's just so, it's odd, isn't it? We make up the majority of the country, and yet we don't see ourselves on TV. And it's rare, it's a rare day when somebody like you, or in my small way, where we are able to sort of slip in under the radar and suddenly get on TV, because who would have thought, you know, 20 years ago or 10 years ago with me, we'd be sitting here doing this, because when we were being raised this way, this wasn't even in our frame of any kind of consciousness, right? I mean,
No.
Well,
it was a little bit in mine, because I was like a TV addict, and I still am kind of a TV addict.
No, and I
never was
too.
seeing anybody like me on there that said anything like that. I knew everybody around me talked about every single day.
Right. So you were determined that...
Well, I wanted to see it on TV,
You wanted to see-
and you know, and now, so I had to do it myself,
Right,
you know.
right. Well, I guess I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah,
because I think that...
I can see that in your work, that you feel the same way.
We were talking in the break, you were asking me about, you know, political activism or, you know, crusader, and I said, you know, I really don't see myself that way. I'm really just a guy who grew up in Flint, Michigan. I have a high school education, and I just really want to just be a citizen, which to me means if you're a citizen in a democracy that you're a participant.
Right.
And if we all just participated a little bit, it'd be a better country. You can't be a spectator if it's a democracy. That's something else. And that's all I want to do.
And something is real scary, like that the country is getting sold away or something from like the working people who make it up.
Yeah, well, that's the part I don't get. I mean, it just seems so...
Is it going, like is it going right wing or left wing? I can't even tell which.
It's going to the money. You see, the people, the corporate chairman, the boards of directors, they're not liberal or conservative or right or left. They only care about the bottom line.
So it's like that movie Network. Remember, that's my favorite movie.
Right, right.
When Ned Beatty said, in the future, there'll only be multinational corporations. There won't be any more countries. There won't be, it'll just be the corporation.
That's right. That's right.
It is kind of what's going on, huh?
Yeah, it is.
I think we're at a scary time. What can people do about it?
Well, I think first of all, don't sink into any kind of despair or cynicism. Don't just sit back and say, oh, the politicians are all alike, or it's all...
Well, everybody's thinking that, though, after this whole Monica Gate thing.
Yeah, thanks to, you know, Clinton and the Republicans and everybody else, everybody's just like, I'm fed up, I don't want to deal with it anymore. And let me tell you something. The people who are running the show, the people who got all the money, that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to say, I don't want to get involved anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore. You know, they want you just to stay away because they would rather run it. So I just encourage people, don't stay away from this. This is our country still. It's of, by, and for the people, but it only happens when you act locally and you act politically. And that means go to your school board meeting. It means some of you should think about running for city council or village council or wherever you live. Don't just sit back and let the other people do it, because usually they're the bad people. You know, it's like, you know, we're the ones that should be running things. And the people actually finally stood up and said, enough with this. Get on with the business. Do real stuff here. Why is it that 40 million people in this country have absolutely no health insurance? That's a real issue. Why don't they deal with that instead of cigars and
people talk about that every day.
Altoids?
People talk about it in the real world every day.
In the real world, that's what it is.
And in the real world, we have to take a break and say goodbye to you and thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me on.
It's sort of the real
Such an
world.
honor to be here, I'll tell you.
Thank you for being